Up next, Authentically Detroit welcomes Urenia Johnson and Adelina Robinson of Corporate Development Institute and Purposed Hands to discuss the Thriveworks Coalition, their newly formed collaborative dedicated to amplifying access to essential services. But first, this week's hot takes from the Michigan Chronicle and Bridge Detroit. We're talking about the student protests. Cass Tech high school kids and teachers walked out this week to protest ICE, data centers, dirty dirt, Duggan versus Democrats. I spoke with Curtis Hertel. He is the chair of the Democratic Party, all about where the conversation about this dirt, who is actually to blame. I know a lot of people want to put it on this mayor. A lot of folks will say, whoa. Actually, it was Mike Duggan that was.
And I'm one of them.
Yes, you are. We want to talk about data centers, too. Keep it locked. Authentically Detroit starts after these messages.
Interested in renting space for corporate events, meetings, conferences, social events, or resource fairs? The Stoudemire Wellness Hub and Match Detroit Small Business Hub are available for rental by members, residents, businesses, and organizations. We offer rentals for activities such as corporate events, social events, meetings, conferences, art classes, fitness classes, and more. To learn more about our rentals and reserve space, visit ecn-detroit.org/space rental.
Hey, y'all, it's Orlando. We just want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed during this podcast episode are those of the co-hosts and guests and not their sponsoring institutions. Now, let's start the show.
What's up, Detroit? Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from Detroit's east side at the Stoudemire, inside the East Side Community Network headquarters. I'm Sam Robinson.
And I'm Donna Givens-Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people in the city of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on all platforms. Happy Black History Month. We're here today with Urenia Ricks-Johnson and Adelina Robinson, who are here to discuss the newly formed collaborative Thriveworks Coalition and their dedication to amplifying access to essential services for families through a unified, holistic approach. Urenia and Adelina, welcome to Authentically Detroit. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Thank you
really
for having us being here.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Happy Black History Month. I'm really
Yes,
excited.
it's a great month. Even though it's all year, we're glad to celebrate it on this month.
We are. It's people, I've mentioned this before, I'm writing a book, and it's about Black Detroit. And I said I was done last month, but you're never done, right?
No.
And so really, really delving into our history, this is a wonderful time to celebrate not just Black history, but Black Detroit history, because our history is so amazing. Our ancestors did so much great work creating the pathway that brought us here today.
Correct.
Yes,
It's so true.
It's so true.
All right. It's time for Hot Takes, where we run down some of this week's top headlines in the city of Detroit. First up, that national shutdown. It came to Detroit in the form of these school protests, Cass Tech and the School of Arts over there near Cass Corridor. About 200, I would say about 350, walked out. And last period on Friday, they marched from the high school down Woodward Avenue, back to Cass Park to protest the ICE killings of two 37-year-old protesters in Minnesota. Organizers said the demonstrations that included students and teachers was intended to send a message to elected leaders that even kids know the aggressive enforcement tactics championed by President Trump are wrong. Teachers at Cass Tech, they actually received instructions from administrators to not interfere with students who decided to leave early for the protest. It was interesting. Some of the student leaders at the protest who were talking said, we know a lot of folks that decided to get up and walk out with us, it actually didn't join our protest and just, we're using this as an excuse to skip class or to leave school early. They were like, we're here for a specific purpose. We didn't, use this as an excuse to skip. And even some of the teachers, I talked to one DSA teacher on Woodward. They had walked pretty far down all the way to Cass Park to join the Cass Tech students last week. And on the same day.
Can we just notice it was cold outside?
And it was. I mean, that
was a labor, really.
It really was. It was 0 degrees. I was following those kids on foot from my car. I parked my car up near LCA, and by the end of it, I could not feel my hands. Because I was at this protest, I missed on Friday. Leaders at the Detroit branch NAACP called on Michigan's congressional delegation to introduce measures to hold ICE and Customs and Border Patrol agents accountable. They're calling on Gary Peters and Alyssa Slotkin to limit Department of Homeland Security funding. Both of our senators have said that they're going to vote against DHS funding after the shootings in Minneapolis. Detroit branch NAACP President Wendell Anthony stood behind leaders from the Arab American Civil Rights League and Latino Americans for Social and Economic Development in a show of solidarity. We heard from a number of folks over the weekend, young people too. I mean, and we've been hearing, I think, a lot of these protests, which are, I think the Free Press had a story on it last weekend. The protests have been majority white. Right. I mean, if not 90, 95% of those folks that are going out there and they're, taking up space in Detroit are coming down from Ferndale or the suburbs.
When you say taking up space, what do you mean?
Well, they're here. I don't mean that in a derogatory sense.
A lot of people have criticized them.
They have,
but
yes.
I'm like, get your people together, okay? I'm not going outside. And, really, I didn't vote for this guy, so it's on you, right? I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, this is definitely your fight.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
I say if you don't vote, you don't have a right. But if you voted, deal with it.
Well,
That's your problem.
People have rights if they don't vote, and the people they're snatching off the streets are people who could not vote. And so
Yes.
I think that it's important for us to come together in love right now. I love
Correct.
the fact that Dr. Wendell Anthony joined forces with Access and Latino leaders because we've been kind of divided since this last election. And the people who want us divided are the people who are trying to oppress us.
Haven't been kind of divided.
Correct.
It's been divided.
Yes, definitely.
There's been
Correct.
division.
And we have to be united and just
Yes.
understand that this overreach is definitely unconstitutional. We have an administration that is really not even following any guidelines,
Yes.
anything connected
Correct.
with the law, anything connected with the civil liberties and civil rights of individuals, and this overreach of people that are really not qualified to do what they're doing. That's the reason why they're out there, because they have free reign and they're not
There's no
operating
control.
under any color of the law.
Yes.
They're just doing what they need to do, but based on what they've been ordered to do, right?
Keep in mind that many of us have ancestors. The slave catchers came up after us
Yes.
like this, okay?
Yes.
And if you have slave catchers in the past in your family, to sit on your hands and act like this is not your problem is disturbing.
That's being blind.
It is. It's being blind, and it's assuming, well, it's happening to them, not to me. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Hats off. And,
Yes.
on that note, before we even continue talking about the story, can we take a moment of silence for Ismail Ahmed?
Let's do that.
Ismail, did I say his name correctly? I always get. He's one of the founders of Access, the Arab American organization, and also the Arab American Museum. He was the head of the Department of Civil Rights for the state of Michigan, an amazing humanitarian who passed away yesterday.
Wow.
And there are many people, grieving for his loss. So I think it's always important for us to lift up people who made such a great contribution, even if they are not people from our own community. But anyway, Sam, you gonna finish the story? I'm sorry.
Student organizers, they are planning another protest against ICE next Friday, February 6th, with similar, march and demonstration outside of Cass Park. What I was going to say was that, these were mostly black and brown students. It's interesting. I think about the demographics of Cass Tech High School. Their senior president is a Mexican-American woman. And I just wonder, how many senior class presidents has Cass Tech had that share your identity? The girl didn't know.
Cass Tech is increasingly diverse in
Yes.
terms of its ethnicities. There's a lot of Bangladeshi students at Cass Tech and others from other communities. But Cass Tech students have a history of this. I started working at ECN on March 7th of 2016, so I'm almost my 10th anniversary. And when I started here, the students had another walking out on behalf of their teachers. And we had a teen program. That's when Orlando worked here. We brought them here and talked to them. And I don't know if you know Natalia Henderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natalia was one of the teens who walked out.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so she was a student leader, and they were standing up for their teachers. And so I'm proud of Cass Tech students, even though I did not have the privilege of going to Cass Tech, and sometimes it annoys me how cocky they can be. Cass technicians, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You know you're a lot.
But it's all good.
Very
It's all good.
territorial, right?
And proud. It's like, but in this instance, I'm with you.
Yes.
That's good.
Moving on to the next story from Malachi Barrett, my tremendous colleague from Bridge, Detroit, talking about this dirty dirt situation that now the Democrats are going to point and say, look at Duggan is going to say he brought back Detroit. However, you have this huge toxic dirt scandal. Malachi Barrett writes, Mike Duggan has not been the mayor of Detroit for the last month, but that didn't diminish the stage time he received at last week's annual policy conference. Of course, disclaimer, the chamber endorsed Duggan, and so no other gubernatorial candidates made it to the conference, because why bother? Duggan was the lone gubernatorial hopeful invited to the Detroit Regional Chamber, which endorsed him through its political committee last July. That is a really early endorsement. He was given roughly half an hour to work through his campaign talking points on data centers, defend the legacy of his demolition program, and take some shots at Democrats who balked at his decision to leave the party. Attendees who spoke with Bridge Detroit about Duggan's candidacy throughout Thursday's gathering of business, philanthropic, and political players fell along two lines of thinking. Duggan will either thread an unprecedented needle in Michigan politics and become governor, or divert more Democratic votes at the hand the office to Republicans, one of the people that Malachi spoke to, who I spoke to as well because I was standing right next to him while he was doing it, was Joe Tate. And, not only did Joe Tate, kind of defend the, forward progress of these data centers. Of course, he has been a tremendous ally and partner to DTE throughout his career. He also said something that was interesting to us that, we all can see, but we're looking for Democratic leaders like Joe Tate to say it out loud, that Mike Duggan is going to take a lot more votes from Democrats than he is Republicans. He has existed and operated in Southeast Michigan for the last however many years. It's going to take time for some of those, Republican voters over time who have, even in Michigan, we know I spent 12 years in Midland. A lot of the more moderate Republicans who are kind of looking up and like, this is chaotic. Can we move on to the next? Begrudgingly voted for Trump. They're even having a hard time saying that they're going to vote for Duggan. And so, it's an interesting...
I was reading a editorial today saying that 2026 was going to be a good year for Republicans in our state. And, this was written by a former head of the Republican Party. I can't remember his name. But one of the things that he said was that Mike Duggan was the secret weapon of the Republican Party. That's coming from a Republican activist. When he was at the policy conference, I didn't go, but when he was there, apparently he had a lot to say about Democrats. What did he say about Republicans? Because, see, if you're in there and you're attacking Democrats and saying, I'm neutral, then I'm thinking you're not. What has he said about Donald Trump and anything Donald Trump has said? He says, well, I don't think I get anywhere by criticizing him.
He did push back on the killing of that man, Alex Preddy.
Well, that's courageous.
Yeah, I don't know if he said anything
that's
about
courageous.
So, but he did push back. He did,
Thank you, Sam.
I don't nameless. He did not name Trump or ICE in the statement.
That is absolutely.
But he did make a statement.
He made a statement. I think it's wrong to kill innocent nurses in cold blood on camera. Thank you, Mike Duggan. But I think I'm looking for something else. I think we're looking at so many things that this administration has done. The erasure of Black history, the attacks on Black organizations, and the ability even to have scholarships for Black folks, the ability to set up funds for Black folks, deciding that Martin Luther King, you choose your battle. And he has been on the wrong side of every single one of them because silence is consent.
It is.
Yes,
And
it
so,
is.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to hear about it. Now, as for that dirt downtown, you don't get to be mayor and brag about everything you did and then wash your hands when it went well and wash your hands of all the problems. If Mary Sheffield tried to take credit as a city council president for the transformation of the city, he would take it back and say, no, it was me. And I'm giving him that dirt because it was his staff people who formed the contract, who selected the company that did that. And this is not one contractor. Guyanga is not the only contractor that has poisoned our community in this mass demolition process. He's just the latest one.
Iron Horse is another
And
one.
Iron Horse is another one, but there are many, many, many before him. If you go back and you look at all of the probes on the Duggan administration, you will find that there's a track record of this. And so, yes, I don't like Brian McKinney any more than anybody else. I think that, city council possibly could have not voted for this contract, but the contracts were voted on unanimously and presented by the mayor. And this mayor got unanimous consent for darn near everything he presented to them. The blood is on his hands. The sickness is on his hands. Quit trying to make it about a woman who dated a man who she probably should not have dated, because may all the women stand up who have not done so, okay?
Oh, my goodness. Raise your hand. Everybody's hand.
I want to get into what he said about Democrats on stage that
is
had
so true.
Democrats reacting in such a strong, fierce way over the weekend. He said that we had people saying in the Democratic caucus, I'm not going to put more money back in the schools unless you pass my bill to guarantee transgender athletes can play in girls' sports. Duggan said this on stage. Now, remember a year ago when I reported that he was talking about this topic, he actually told me that I misquoted him, and I said, well, what did you say? He didn't correct me. So now we know, a year later,
Now
that yes, this is how he feels about this issue.
So, Sam, is this your big I told you so moment?
Well, I will say that I'm glad that I reported it a year ago. So now that we're having this conversation, of course, there was no bill, and of course there's an ongoing debate among Democrats on this issue, but it was never baked into any legislation.
But his friend and colleague, Karen Whitsett, played such a significant role in stymieing those votes. I'm not saying she did it so that he could have a reason to beat Democrats over the head, but you have to acknowledge that the problem with Mike Duggan is not that he doesn't believe in partisanship. The problem with Mike Duggan is that he wants to take down the Democratic Party. And he has been doing so for a while. Remember, his police chief and his deputy mayor was James Craig, who came out as a Republican soon after he left office. Okay, so the reality is you have to ask yourself about his political stripes. It boggles my mind that people believe this man is going to get 20%. He says, well, I'm going to get 20% from Republicans and 20% from Democrats. I don't know maybe he is delusional, okay?
Well,
and by the way, I was quoted in Our Magazine. Our Magazine's issue this month came out, and I just found out I'm there. Someone said, hey, you're in Our Magazine, so I had to look it up, saying, I think this is a problem. So, Sam, maybe in December of next year, I'll be able to say, I told you so, but I don't want to. I don't want to have a Republican governor. And I don't want to have Mike Duggan as governor. I want somebody as governor in this nation where we are under attack from a president who believes in basic human rights and is willing to fight for them. And I don't see it coming out of either of the Republican, the independent Republican or the actual Republican who will run against him.
It's funny because, Republicans say that Duggan is the independent Democrat, and they yell and scream when he releases statements condemning the murder of that guy in Minneapolis, Alex Preddy. And so that's my question is, who are you for? What is your lane? It screams very similar to me. A campaign that we watched happen in New York with Andrew Cuomo. When I asked Curtis Hertel, I said, well, Duggan was in New York on election night. Where was he? Why have you guys been unable to make that connection, Trump to Duggan, much like how Zohran Mamdani did with Cuomo to Trump? Mm-hmm. And you know what Curtis Hertel told me? He said, well, Sam, I don't really think Michigan voters care about Mario Cuomo. We were talking about Andrew Cuomo.
Well, I think...
And I said, Curtis, perhaps this in my head. I didn't say this out loud, but I said, oh, my gosh, perhaps this is the issue.
Here's the problem with the Democratic Party. And I'm not attacking it like he is. But when you...
That was not an attack. I
know, but I think the problem is an identity crisis. You have to figure out, are we for justice? And if so, will we fight injustice no matter who's bringing it? Or are we trying to play the middle and step in the middle, and he got in our middle lane, and we got to push him out of this middle lane? My feeling is that we need leadership that is really fighting for people in ways that we have not had in a long time, because we are under unprecedented attack. And I'm really scared about what that means. So I think the challenge is that the party leaders have all been some of his buddies. They thought like him, acted like him, and all of a sudden they're on opposite sides and he's attacking them. I don't think that he is fighting people who are progressive, who are anywhere close to where I am politically. So I think that if he wins, if the Republicans win, I think the there's got to be some soul searching for Michigan Democrats. What are we doing here? And why are we letting this happen? What do we stand for? Mondami, who in the leadership of the Michigan Democratic Party has values like Mondami?
Or at least can articulate a message that is able to be retweeted and posted on Instagram Reels or whatnot. And that's my thing with Curtis is there's no opposition to Doug. There's certainly opposition to John James, but it's difficult to message against the former mayor of Detroit. It's just incredibly difficult.
When you don't have your own, I could message. I've got lots of messages. You listen to me every week. I've got lots of things to say. We're talking about, he brags about housing. Housing in Detroit is at a fragile state right now. Mm-hmm. Let's be really honest. There's all of the housing that he helped build up. We have so many apartment buildings that are vacant, in foreclosure, or facing foreclosure. We have people in apartment buildings that are cold because they don't have heat. So when you brag about things, again, you got to take responsibility for the good and the bad. You can't talk about demolition and not talk about toxic dirt. You can't talk about building all these apartments and not talk about the failure of these apartment buildings to thrive. You can't even talk about building up downtown, knowing that we have a vacancy rate like we have downtown. And with the building of the Hudson's Project, now we have the vacant Renaissance Center. Mm-hmm. I mean, at some point, where's the accountability? What does progress look like? And unless the Democratic Party has clear metrics around what progress looks like, anything will do. He makes for good headlines. But when you start digging beneath the surface, you're going to find out there are a lot of things that are going to be blamed on our current mayor.
Yes, that she's inheriting, and she didn't establish that foundation.
Yeah, I've been saying for the last month, Democratic Party is going to put many of its marbles behind Mary Sheffield. They are going to try to do whatever they can to help her message and create this appearance of success early on. Because if she does not have success early on, that allows the Mike Duggan people to stand up and say, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Right. That's why we have to come in and do something.
Yes. And I don't think she can lift her. I don't think it's her responsibility, really. I think the Democratic Party is responsible for doing it. In fact, the 13th Congressional District of the Democratic Party was actively spending money to keep her out of office. So keep her name out your mouth, okay? I'm sorry, just joking.
Well, it was Kinloch was the brother of the chair. So,
whether he's the brother of the chair or not, they rallied the forces. They got the UIW to support her. Mm-hmm. They reeled in a whole lot of people who opposed her candidacy. And so to act as though she's supposed to be savior for a party that did not even recognize early enough that she was the one all along. I mean, I knew it.
Right. I know. And insiders had such a pushback. I mean, for people to criticize her late stage for being so friendly to the billionaires when the billionaires were only friendly to her when they realized that she was going to be the next mayor. I mean, remember, they endorsed Fred Durhal early on. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I cringe sometimes at some of the criticism that I hear on both. I mean, both of the candidates. Obviously I'm a reporter and I'm in a neutral observation position. And so throughout the whole campaign, I was kind of like laughing at some of the criticisms, but I do think that you make a good point. I didn't find I thought he ran a very misogynistic campaign. I'll be honest with you.
Very much.
And as a black woman, I was offended. I was really, really offended. And
yes, Reverend. I was offended.
Yes,
Reverend.
Right.
And mind you, when we
did who you say you are.
We did a full candidate series. He was the first person we interviewed. And we attempted, I was actually excited about him entering the race.
Yes.
So this is not coming from a place of it had to be a woman.
Genuine excitement. You're not lying.
Yes.
I was really excited. I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be great. We're going to have an outsider who's going to bring some different perspectives. The fact that he was not well prepared and he's got 30,000 members. If I had 30,000 members, I'd be the smartest person in the room, okay? So you got to be prepared. She did her homework and she did the work. And I don't want to even try to relitigate that campaign, but I was offended and I could not be neutral, even though I intended to be neutral. I had to get off the sidelines and say, you know what? We need a mayor who is going to do the right things. I know we have to take a break.
Yeah.
But
We will. And when we come back, we're going to hear more about the Thriveworks Coalition and how we can do more to amplify access to essential services for families.
Eastside Community Network is proud to support Rise Higher Detroit, a transition guided by community, built on collaboration. Mayor Sheffield wants to hear from Detroiters, and your input in this citywide survey will help shape what comes next. Stop by ECN and ask for Juanita to complete the survey in person, or take the survey today by visiting our website at ecn-detroit.org.
Welcome back, everyone. Thriveworks Coalition is a newly formed collaborative dedicated to amplifying access to essential services for families through a unified, holistic approach. Funded by leaders from diverse nonprofit backgrounds, Thriveworks brings together organizations Corporate Development Institute and Purposed Hands to create a one-stop shop for legal, financial, educational, and family support. Founded by Attorney Urenia Ricks-Johnson, Corporate Development Institute is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to educating and empowering underserved communities through financial literacy, youth mentorship, and legal advocacy. Founded by Adelina Robinson, Purposed Hands is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting low-income families in Westland, Detroit, and the surrounding areas. Corporate Development Institute and Purposed Hands are hosting a Future-Proof Families Money, Law, and Legacy financial course for families enrolled at Purposed Hands' Learning Center. This course launch sets the foundation for future community initiatives to be held throughout the year. All right. Now that we know a little bit about you guys, tell us, how did you guys connect and decide let's join forces to do this work?
Well, we actually met because I'm a practicing attorney, and I met Adelina through her vision of actually opening up another daycare center in Detroit. I'm a native of Detroit, east side of Detroit, and we from there, it just kind of grew in the collaboration of what we were doing. I saw her passion for the children and having those things that she wanted to give to the children, but she did not have anything that she could give to the parents. And Adelina, if you know her, you know that she's all about the kids. Whatever she can do for the kids, she's like, I'm going to give somebody else the adults, but give me the kids, right?
Correct.
So I wanted to make sure in our collaboration that I provided services to parents. I've been doing operating Corporate Development Institute since 2016, and we have done workshops and classes, and we've seen the success of families thriving and doing more with the workshops that we give them on financial literacy and legal advocacy.
Talk about those workshops. I mean, what does one look like?
So most of the time it looks like in our legacy series, we have professionals come in and provide, we do a survey with the parents or the individuals at the beginning just to kind of see what they're looking for. We found a lot of people are just starting, some of them are starting at ground zero, and they need the basics of budgeting, try to figure out things, try to figure out how to maintain their family. So we go from all the way down from the beginning all the way to the end of taking them up where they're ready for like legacy planning and estate planning, which is what I do on a regular basis as well. So we take them from the beginning, and then we also dispel some myths about the law. You know, I've been practicing law for over 20 years, and there's a lot of misinformation about the law and what it can and cannot do. So I try to do in my workshops to provide that education and try to provide access to the legal system for individuals that would normally not have access to it.
Sure. Adelina?
Yes.
From your perspective, I mean, talk about, I understand your organization is supporting families and children during the holiday season. Talk about the work and why you felt it was appropriate to join forces in this way?
So we started Purpose Hands because I own a daycare. I own two, one in Detroit, one in Westland, and we see need. So we basically handle, most of our kids are low-income kids. So most of our kids are like the scenario we had today that we were talking about, things like that, where family needs help. And it's a shame that we just can't help them without having some form of protection for ourselves or for the kids. And so at my daycare, we seen that a lot of kids needed food, clothes, diapers, wipes. And we put the program together so that we can get that for them. And so what we started was a program where every month parents can come in and ask for things, and we give it to them through our daycare. And we also give it to the surrounding community. And so me and Urenia got together and said, hey, I can handle the kids because that's my passion. I've been doing it for 20 years. And you can handle the adults because we have to meet the parents. If we want change, we have to get the parents on board. And keeping that cycle going of people being on low income and people being in situations where domestic violence and all these things, somewhere has to change. And to do that, we have to have the financial literacy, have the capability to empower our parents again. And that's where the Thriveworks came in, where we can work together to change that. Because most of our children are in Inkster and different things like that. And they come to our daycare and I have foster kids, I have abused kids, different things like that. And then I have a wonderful group of people that help me out in this program. And we decided 3 years ago to start doing this and helping our families and having a one-stop shop where we not only have where we can give toys, but we give food, we give what they need to make sure they're taken care of. Because I'm a person that says, don't complain about it, be about it.
That's
so
wonderful.
do what you need to do to make sure you meet the need for everyone involved.
I have a similar philosophy. I always say I have the change what you can style of leadership, right?
Right.
So just figuring out what your strengths are,
Correct.
what your gifts are, where your assets are, and putting them in the right place.
Correct.
Is what you can do. I have some questions though. Childcare is such a hard business to be in, especially when you are working with indigent children, because depending on state childcare reimbursements, I know can be a challenge, right?
Yes, it is.
And then I just read that the current president is demanding that all of these, cases be audited because they're saying there's tens of thousands, millions of people who are not qualified. Does that concern you?
Well,
and if so, what are the safeguards? How do you keep your business going in light of all of the challenges against caring for kids who our society does not want to take care of?
Are you worried you're going to get a random streamer that's going to show up and
Well, I'm also worried just about
accuse you of
financial
fraud?
Right. Yeah. But also like financial stability.
Yes.
Well, see, that's where Purpose Hands came about. We want to be able to build this where we can take care of ourselves. Like, where we fund it, where we don't have to depend on the state and the government and everybody, asking for people to help us and support and things like that, which that's why Thriveworks came about, so that other people can come along and see that this is needed. Because if a parent can't work, then a child can't eat.
Right.
So we have to understand that this is a collective thing. And to change it, we all have to be a part of it. So I brought this about as far as for Purpose Hands was because I kept seeing the same need, the same problem. And am I worried about what the government is doing and what's going on? Not really, because my help doesn't come from them. I believe in a higher being. But I also believe that it takes me doing something about it, me getting out there and asking for the grants, me getting out there and funding this myself, where my parents can come to me and say, I can't afford childcare. Okay, let's get a voucher. Let's get this. Let's get these things lined up so that you can go to work.
That's beautiful.
And that's what it's about.
Can you talk about some of your success stories?
So for just recently, we did December 26th, we did for Christmas, we did toys. We helped 50 families and 83 children with toys, food, and clothes for Christmas. Then Thanksgiving, we helped 35 families, getting food and stuff like that. I have 74 children in my daycare at this time, and we're opening up a second location to do the same thing.
And that's the one in Detroit.
That's the one in
Where
Detroit.
in Detroit is it going to be?
2424 Puritan.
Oh, okay.
Over there. Yes.
Okay, so 2424, where is that?
right there in Livernois area over there.
Yeah, so my friend has a church right at there, Church of the New Covenant.
Yes, I know.
Right down the street.
Right there.
Yes. You know Reverend Ellison?
I have
Pastor
heard.
Ellison.
I've heard of Pastor
Yes,
Ellison. But
I'd be happy to connect you.
Definitely. Please
Yes,
do.
it's a great place, and there's a lot of need in that community.
Yes.
And that's the thing, it's bringing the community together to see the problem. The thing is, we rely on the government. In reality, let's just be honest, it's our job to take it back and say we can do it ourselves and make sure we stand for ourselves.
And that's a change.
That's the big
That's
thing.
a change that you can leadership, right?
Yes.
People say our ancestors had it worse than this. But our ancestors figured out how to take care of each other.
Exactly. That
And we have
community.
got to get back
Yes.
to that community where
Yes.
we understand that the people who don't love us are not going to save us, right?
Well, why would
Black
we
History
give them-
Month, y'all, it's our job to save ourselves. It's our job to love each other enough that we find a way. So,
And that's so important, and it's so important to. That's why this partnership was so important to make sure that we were when we first started coming together. We talked about fulfilling the needs that we saw, because a lot of times you have a lot of programs that are really not looking at the needs of individuals. They're just giving.
Correct.
They're just doing programs, right?
Right.
So we tried to find out specifically what the needs were. We knew that there were some issues with domestic violence. There were some issues with understanding how to navigate through the legal system, and we're providing those services. We knew that there was some food insecurities, and we're
Right.
providing those services. We knew that there was some just basic budgeting or some things that people needed in their household to understand and to have access and provide resources. And that's another thing that we've tried to provide. So just really try to figure out what we can do or what access that we can provide for individuals has been the birthing of Thriveworks.
that's wonderful.
Yes.
So, Urenia, you are helping the parents.
Yes.
And you're educating them on finances. And you're
Yes.
helping them with legal issues. Are there any changes that you've seen in the parents as a result of your intervention?
Well, I've seen with my we just started the program, but
Okay.
within the Corporate Development Institute, we have definitely seen parents come and individuals come from the beginning of just understanding about financial literacy to now, like I said, growing into the fact that now they're ready for an estate plan, and now they're seeing that they're working a regular job. Now they're looking at the fact of leaving a legacy for their children. They're looking at, because when we first start talking to them, they're not even thinking about that. They're thinking about survival.
Change takes so much time.
Yes.
Yes,
It
it
doesn't.
does.
It's not going to happen in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or one workshop, right?
Yes.
You got to plant that seed, and you're planting seeds, right?
Correct.
And then we continue to try to monitor. And that's the great part about Adelina's program, is that we are able to kind of walk on a journey with them. And then after they complete the initial course, we're going to do a part 2 and just kind of see what we can do in order to take them a little bit further. Because we know, like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. Just getting up and talking to them for 30 minutes or just providing them with food and just planting that seed is not enough. We have to go the extra mile and make sure that they accomplish their goals that they're trying to reach.
I always say empower, not cripple.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I can give you something, it won't matter. But if I teach you and you can do it yourself, then it makes it better. And that's what this is about, is growing them to do it themselves so that we can stop that cycle.
Sometimes we have to do both, right? And so
Yes,
you're doing both. You're giving away
definitely.
kids, and you're also educating parents.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Because, sometimes just to build trust.
Yes.
But also, you pointed out, to meet that immediate need so they can focus on personal change.
Change.
That's
Yes.
great.
Because if
So-
they're looking right now, they're not looking at long term. They're looking at right now. What can
Right.
you do? We need some food right now. So
Getting out of that survival mode, meaning, there's times when you see families and they come in my daycare and you can tell they're in survival. And you're like, okay, we need to get you past survival and in empowerment and knowing that you can do it yourself and growing you. And how do I do that? That's where this came about. And that's where we're hoping that a lot of other organizations and companies will see that need is needed. But we need it in a sense of that we all come together to do it. It doesn't take one person, it takes a community.
So what are your short-term plans? Where are you trying to go from here? I know you're opening up a new center, but do you have other vision for what you're trying to accomplish?
Correct. Yes, we do. So we have monthly classes that we do at my daycare center that we do every month for families to come out to and be a part of. Anyone's welcome to come. And we also have our end of the year, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and the holidays. If any family needs anything, they can call to the daycare or to Purpose Hands, and we will help doesn't matter. And what we are trying to do at the end of the years is be able to have at least help 500 families with the necessary things, because they don't want to feel bad. They don't want to feel like, okay, I got to go to a food bank or I got to go do this. We want to be like, no, here it is, and we're going to teach you how to keep this every year. And we want to increase it. This year, we helped, like I said, we helped 50 families and 83 kids. Our goal at the end of this year is to help 500 at both locations, and hopefully have enough to make sure that people know about this every year and move this forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's our goal with corporate development is to empower more families, to really expand our mentoring network, where we have attorneys on hand that want to be more of a mentor, want to be more of for individuals and young girls and young individuals that are looking to go into the law. We have interns that we're working with, trying to expand the capacity, and then we're just trying to just reach more people with our seminars and just providing that education. So we're planning to just do more of those mentoring moments, because a lot of times we have to captivate people while they're there. So doing more mentoring moments where we bring our staff in for probably like a half-day workshop and then just come in and empower. So we're just trying to expand our reach.
That's amazing. Guys, if people want to learn more on their own, find you guys, reach out, where should they go?
They can go to the website, Purpose Hands, or they can go to Kids Purpose Learning Center. Both are in the same location, so they can reach me through there. Or they can go on the website, and there is a form on there that they can fill out, and we will call them back and help them with what they need and things like that.
And our website is cdicorporate.org. We have we have information on there that provides information about our programs, our upcoming events, as well as our partnership with Kids Purpose and Purpose Hands organization.
Awesome. Amazing. Urenia and Adelina with Thriveworks, thank you guys so much for being here. If you guys have topics, if you guys have guests that you want us to talk to on Authentically Detroit, you can reach us on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can visit our website at authenticallydetroitdet.com. All right, time for shout-outs. I have a really special shout-out. You guys got any people that you want to give flowers to right now in this moment? Donna, I know you do.
Don Lemon.
Okay,
Don
shout
Lemon.
out to
Has anybody done a better job of changing their image? I remember a time when people used to call Don Lemon a sellout. And look at him. Look at him now, standing up, standing strong, being courageous. I think he did so much to help engage so many of us and help us understand. In the lead up to Black History Month, this is our fight. These are our voices. I believe there were 4 journalists who were arrested, and they were all African American. But Don Lemon is the name we know. And so I really want to shout him out and thank him for being courageous at a time such as this.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the Detroit Pistons head basketball coach, J.B. Bickerstaff. He is the first coach to be named the All-Star head coach since Flip Saunders in 2005-06, I believe. That was the year that they lost to the Spurs in the finals. But, it's been a while since these Pistons have been good. Can we get
now they're great.
They're
Let's
great
go,
now.
Cade
They're
and
number
Jalen
one.
Duren. We have 2 All-Stars.
They're number 1.
And we have an All-Star head coach. So shout out to that team and that organization. I got a bunch of good people that work there. Romello, Faith. Shout out to you guys.
We're going to a Pistons game on the 5th. Really excited. As a community, we got 30 tickets.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's our first one this year.
I need to get one, because I definitely want to go and support them.
Yes, they're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You guys got any shout outs? You get people you want to shout out?
I always shout out my mom, because she's like the first person that did really kind of set the groundwork for who I am. So I always shout out Barbara Coleman. That's my girl. She's 82, and she's the one who really kind of believed in even the dream of me becoming an attorney. She didn't shoot it down, because I've never had an attorney in my family, but she pushed me. So I always shout her out.
I would say my staff and my family, they've been my rock and my support through everything I go through in the last 10 years of being in this career.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to Authentically Detroit. We will be back next week. Donna, thank you. Of course, you can find me, Sam Robinson, on Twitter at Samuel J. Robb and on Instagram at Sam Drinks Water. Thank you, guys.